Why are you wearing a uniform? Why is the gun pointed at me?
This is one of the worst wars in history, and you haven't even heard about it. You've heard of the horrific crimes of Hitler and the Nazis during World War II, but you might not have heard of the horrors that took place in Europe in the 1990s. Ethnic cleansing, mass rape, torture, and genocide. This is the story of the Yugoslav Wars. During the collapse of communism, Eastern Europe began to rip itself apart. One federation in particular, Yugoslavia, experienced war and ethnic violence more than any other.
Their economy is in ruin, and they're replacing communism with nationalism, the kind that thrives on focusing on ethnic and religious differences.
A series of conflicts broke out that led to horrific war crimes not seen in Europe since the Second World War.
Truce talks between federal officials and the Republic of Slovenia broke down again today, and the president of Yugoslavia's largest republic is warning his people to be prepared for war.
By the end of 1991, Croatia, Slovenia, and Macedonia had all declared independence from Yugoslavia. Macedonia left peacefully, but in the other two nations, brutal fighting broke out, with the Slovenes and Croats desperately fighting for independence.
You expect to be in a battle?
In the fighting?
Yes.
I hope. I wait on it.
Who's winning?
We. Always.
International reactions to the conflicts were mixed. The U.S. government, upon seeing the horrific violence unfolding, withdrew its support for the National Army.
It appears that the violent tactics of the Yugoslav army have forced the Bush administration to change its mind.
The world watched in horror, unsure of what to do, as Yugoslavia plunged into chaos. But far worse was yet to come. Another key country with the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was Serbia, who did not want their nation to fully fall apart. Together with Montenegro, the Serbs tried to form a new nation and keep control of their power. Another important country was Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Almost half of this country were Bosnian Muslims, called Bosniaks, and about a third were Christian Serbs.
Also living in the region were Croats and other ethnic groups. These distinct groups had lived side by side in relative peace for decades, united by communism. But now, fear of being ruled by another ethnic group led to tension and untimely horrific violence. Bosnian Muslims attempted to form a new country for themselves, as did the Bosnian Serbs. The difference was that the Serbs had a new powerful ally that Bosniaks lacked, the new union of Serbia and Montenegro. Shocking accounts during this time illustrate just how bad the situation was, as ethnic tensions rose with communities. Neighbors turned on neighbors, and teachers even turned on their own students.
Why are you wearing a uniform? Why is the gun pointed at me? And he says, are you scared? Because I'm a Serb. You're scared I'm going to kill you? And everything was thrown at me. And I was only 13. I said, I don't know that you're a Serb. I thought we were all the same.
Over the coming years, Bosnian Serbs, under the flag of their newly formed military, the VRS, carried out horrific crimes against Bosnian Muslims and Croats in Bosnia and Herzegovina as they attempted to remove them from the region. Ratko Mladic led the VRS, ordering the ethnic cleansing of thousands. Techniques used included extermination, unlawful confinement, mass rape, sexual assault, and destruction of property, including homes and places of worship. Camps began to emerge in Bosnia that held men, women, and children, and the VRS removed as many non-Serbs from Bosnia as possible.
A massacre was the product of what was called ethnic cleansing, driving non-Serbs out of much of Bosnia.
Mistreatment in these camps was horrific. The Bosnian Serbs used torture, sexual violence, and killing to intimidate and punish the civilians they had captured.
Nismo jedno drugo ništa tamo, nismo govorile. Ali smo pretpostavljale šta se dešava sa onom ženom koja se ne vraća.
The violence reached a pinnacle with the Srebrenica massacre in 1995. When Serb troops under the command of Ratko Mladic took control of the town, he promised safe passage of all the civilians out of the war zone.
As the women and children boarded buses, most men of military age who tried to join them were taken off, about 900 in all. They were held in houses and buildings nearby, where one says General Mladic began to change his tune.
In total, 8,000 Bosnian Muslim men and boys were executed at Srebrenica.
Mushka Ibizovic's husband Karim decided to join the men heading for Tuzla. She and her family have not seen him since. Mevludin survived by playing dead among the corpses, and at night he escaped over the mountains to government territory.
Prior to the massacre, the UN had declared the town a safe area under UN protection.
But in fact, as Mladic planned its capture, the Dutch UN troops who were meant to defend it had been abandoned by their higher commanders.
International peacekeeping were unable to prevent the town's capture and the massacre that followed. By 2001, the Yugoslav wars had all come to an end. Over 130,000 people had been killed and over 4 million were forced to flee their homes. Yugoslavia ceased to exist and numerous agreements were signed to prevent further violence. It is unknown just how many Bosnian Muslims and Croats were killed or displaced by Serbs during the ethnic cleansing of Bosnia. Today, memories of the brutal violence live on.
Mevludin Oric is haunted by the loss of his father, brother and numerous cousins, and also by the fact that he still recognizes Serbs around here from those killing fields.
Many of the war criminals were found guilty of their crimes and were imprisoned. Despite this, in the past few years, ethnic tensions in the region have been rising once again. Hopefully, the leaders in the region can look at the mistakes of the past to ensure that it never happens again. We hope you enjoyed this episode of History 101. Be sure to subscribe for more.